And thanks for joining us here on PM Express. On the show tonight, enforcing the lockdown, the security factor. We're going to be looking at it from many angles, but I want to quickly update you on the numbers. Day 3 of Ghana's 2 weeks partial lockdown. We're knowing currently from the health officials that our case count stands at 195 and still climbing. We've been told to expect this to go up even more. It brings the total number of regions affected to 5. It started with Greater Accra and then Kumasi. Now it's spread to other regions across the country. The Greater Accra, Ashanti, Northern, Upper West regions have all now recorded cases. Let's break down a bit further for you. There are 174 cases in the Greater Accra region, 10 in the Northern region, 9 in the Ashanti region, and 1 each in the Eastern and Upper West regions as of tonight. Now, before the shutdown, so many people moved from Greater Accra and Kumasi to other parts, to other areas of this country, and that was a major concern for health workers. And now we're seeing the impact of that as this then begin to snowball into other parts of the country. We also know that the Ghana Health Services, it is definitely alarmed by the mass exodus of the people from the lockdown areas into other parts of the country, and contact tracing has started. We've been through town today, Wednesday, which is the 3rd day review. General adherence to the directives by people. People are generally adhering. Driving here myself, the town seemed like a ghost town. Around 7 p.m., where you see a great activity, nightlife is completely disappeared. There are worrying videos circulating. I'm sure you've seen some of these on social media of police and military assaulting citizens. We've had statements coming in from the security agency saying some of these videos are doctored, some of them from previous or way unrelated to this particular lockdown, but people are deliberately circulating them within the time, pitching them as though they had something to do with the lockdown. We're going to try and break that down and also assess the way the security officials and personnel had carried themselves in this great time. Now, we'll be measuring what the security had done in this particular period and assessing the way forward in the next few days before this initial part of lockdown elapses. All that you need to know, if you haven't been out of your house yet and wondering how the security situation is like, you want to stay with us so we can bring to you those who really in charge of the security and those who can assess it from an expert point of view. Stay with us. Director of Public Affairs of the Ghana Police Service, Madam Sheila Abeye-Bachman. Also joining me tonight is the Colonel Eric Agrikwashi. He is the Director of Public Relations with the Ghana Armed Forces. Also grateful that you could join me, Colonel Agrikwashi. Also joining us, obviously, is a man who used to be in the service, is Colonel Festus Abwaje, retired. He is retired Army officer and security analyst, also joins us. He himself has a unique story because he's been in mandatory quarantine, and I'm very excited that he could join us tonight. And it's to you, Colonel Festus Abwaje, that I started with. I just wanted to check how you're faring and whether you have been given the all clear to leave mandatory quarantine.
Well, I'm fine, speaking for myself. I don't have any fears. I don't have any anxiety. The only problem has been with the paucity, the flow of information as regards the management of the quarantine regime. So for the information of your audience, I did the first test about 7 p.m. on Monday, the 23rd of March. The results were disclosed or delivered on the 26th, I think it was Thursday, evening or afternoon. That was negative. However, pursuant to 2 letters the Minister of Health has sent, at least speaking for myself, it was the indication that we would need to do a second test. Now, that was reiterated, second letter that was delivered as to us today, providing a bit more information as to the proceed. I need to be specific. If and when the second test is done, the 3rd of April, and it turns out to be negative by the results, then please go home. But health authorities will continue to monitor your status. However, the results turn out positive, according to the letter, located to a care center for treatment. So I am waiting. I believe a lot more of than something like the 1,029 are in the arrest the lab to do the second test.
Okay. So we wish you well. We're definitely hoping that that test will definitely give you the all clear, and so we can have you back, contributing your knowledge and expertise to unraveling some of these very complex matters that we are all faced with. Stay with me, Colonel Festus Obaji, and hopefully we can get to fix the challenge with the audio there. My technical team would deal with that. I want to bring in Director of Public Affairs with the Ghana Police Service, Sheila, who's also on Skype with us. Sheila, what's your own assessment of the three of the lockdown when it comes to the police's role in ensuring compliance and adherence to the directives that the President outlined a few days back?
Security personnel have done fantastic so far. We have asked people to stay home so we can be on the streets to protect their properties in this country. It has not been an easy task for us, but we are up for it, and we have been watching day and night in keeping safety since Monday at dawn. The morale keeps getting high for us to ensure that people for the coronavirus disease in Ghana. And so for the security services, we have done very well, and we actually increase it as the go by.
Prove the line. I'm struggling to hear. I'm pretty sure our audience is also struggling to hear because of the constant break in the line. When we return, we'll get into the details of how this is panning. We'll hear from the Ghana Armed Forces. There have been a lot of how that has also played out. Okay, let's see if we can bring Colonel Agrikwashi and get a better line to him. Mr. Agrikwashi, can you hear me, sir?
Hello?
Hello, Colonel Agrikwashi, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Fantastic, and he's joining us via phone. From the armed forces point of view, I know you were deployed. What we are told was something like 2,000 men in uniform from the Navy, from the Army, but also from the Air Force. How are they faring across the country? What's your own assessment of this?
I think that so far, so good. Like Sheila just said, each passing day, the morale picks up because you begin to see the realities on ground and you make the necessary adjustments to make sure that you're able to provide the best assistance as much as possible.
Okay, great. One of the key things that had come up, and I've seen your statement on this, and I'm sure this has come to your attention. I want to get the audiences to watch a few of these that some citizens have recorded, so you could get to address it for me, the concern that some of the citizens have about reported abuse. For example, this one that we are watching happened in the Bono region, and my correspondent there had followed up on this. You see this gentleman who is arguing with the military officer and then exchanges blows with the military officer. Just watch this unfold.
Mami drop him on WhatsApp.
Yeah, Colonel, I request you this particular video. We see this gentleman who was arguing with the military officer, and we see two other people who were going through drills as being directed by the military officers. They're obviously in their view, breaking the directives to stay at home. This particular gentleman seemed to resist. He gets into an exchange with a military officer and then throws a punch and then runs away. We see the military officer do something that appears to be cocking his gun. I don't know whether that video has come to your attention specifically.
Yeah, I've seen that video, but I think that video is not related to the exercise.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a new thing. It's an old video. And that is where some of us worry is coming from. Mm-hmm. Why all of a sudden people are pushing out all these old videos into the system? Mm. Why are they trying to cause fear and panic among the populace? Because most of the videos they are pushing out there are not related to what is happening. So it's also making it difficult for us to actually see those videos that are current, that need immediate attention. Because you see the video, you spend time trying to cross-check only to find out that this thing maybe is about 2-3 years old, it's from a different country, and it's all time wasting. But if they will stop these things and rather post what is happening so that we can quickly address them if there are any abuses, that will help all of us.
This particular video, and my colleague who is in the region had followed up on this. You got a copy of it and you double-checked it to ensure that it's part of those that...
It's not related to this lockdown exercise, the video. Mm. Yes, and so when you put it out there and somebody says it, the picture is that the soldiers who have gone to somehow provide support to the community that has been locked down partially, are rather assaulting them or punishing them. But that is not the case.
What we did when we saw that video was to do some further digging ourselves. Yeah. As you say, because of the challenges in the past, in the last few days, true, there have been many of these videos that had just been either been doctored or had nothing to do with the lockdown that people had deliberately put out there. But on this particular video, when we saw it, we sent our reporter to go out and try and do some verification. Stay with me, Colonel Agrikwashi. I want to bring in my reporter in the Bono region who we sent out to try and verify this. Nuruddin is on the line with us. Nuruddin, what did you find when you tried to verify this particular video?
Well, as I went there earlier, today, and I spoke to some residents.
Give us specifics. Where exactly did you go? Where did this happen?
It happens around Tafo Trademans, just a few meters away from the Tafo Government Hospital. Mm-hmm. If you're from a new road heading towards Tafo Foreman, it's just in between, opposite the T junction, towards Tafo Government Hospital. That is exactly where it happened. It happened in front of one of the churches, over there, just close to Dr. Ladi's clinic. That's where it happened, earlier today.
Okay, and what did you find? Did you try to verify this? What did you find?
Well, I spoke to some residents to find out exactly whether that incident occurred. Mm-hmm. And some of them told me that it happened this morning. It's been very difficult getting those who witnessed the incident, but those that I spoke to who live around said it happened this morning, and that the guy was asked wherever he was going by the military man, and he couldn't give any reasonable answer to the question that the military man asked him. So they asked him to go and join some other two guys who were standing in front of the church. And so he went there. I mean, it is not clear what happened. I mean, what exchanges happened between the military man and the guy. So there was some kind of, exchange of hands, blows, yeah. So the guy took his tail, and then military man chased him. And we understand he was caught by the military man and later was taken away from the scene.
So we saw in the video that the military officer sort of attempted to run after him. The eyewitnesses say that this individual was arrested.
Exactly what they told me. I mean, they said the military man went after him and then caught him and brought him back to the same area, and they took him away. Actually, we have not been able to find out exactly where they took the man to. But all we know, or all we gathered from the scene, was that he was taken away from that particular area.
Okay. So as far as the residents in that particular part of the region is concerned, they saw this happen in today.
Exactly, that was what they said. I mean, like I mentioned, most of them were not willing to talk to us. We really wanted to have some recorded video with them to be able to establish exactly what happened, but they were kind of afraid to speak to us on record. So we had to take information around, speak to some other people that we know, and that was what we gathered from there.
Okay, Nuruddin, thank you very much. Kana Grokashi, your reaction to that?
Indicated that particular incident had nothing to do with the lockdown.
Okay.
But if he's saying that it happened this morning, you talked about Bunu region, and he's also talking about Tafo.
Yes, Tafo. So that was my error. That's a reporter who had gone out there to do this. So we take his word for it, and I've double checked with my producers. That's where it actually happened, and so he tracked down to the particular area where this happened, and so that's the verification they came back with.
Yeah. Okay. If he's saying that it took place at Tafo, then we'll have to do a follow-up on that, because our checks this morning indicated that that incident was not related to the lockdown. But if he's saying that it happened this morning, then we need to do a follow-up.
Okay.
This information I'll pass to the unit there for them to do a follow-up.
Okay.
For us to actually confirm, because the video is there, whoever is in there can easily be seen.
Yeah.
And so we'll be able to find out. But the residents, the people, those three guys, are they residents of the area that we can easily identify them to help us in our investigations?
Well, I mean, from what my correspondent says, that that is something that is unknown. I mean, but definitely eyewitnesses saw it happen. And there were, kiosks and businesses around, and so there are people there that he spoke to who've seen this happen. I'm pretty sure this can be verified, and the officer, of course, also seen. I want you to stay with me, because I want to also dig into, in essence, what is the reporting mechanism. If people indeed feel abused by any officer, what can they do? Is there a line to call? Stay with me as we explore that. I want to bring in Sheila Bakman-Abeye on this. Sheila, talk to me about the police. You did something really brilliant the other day when you were deploying your men. You allowed us access to see the deployment, and I remember very clearly the director of operations insisting and making it emphatic that this deployment is humanitarian and that no officer should abuse any citizen. I must say, I personally haven't seen any police officer do this. What reports have you received across the country as far as the conduct of your men is concerned, Sheila?
I have said that I would enhance with the police officers. I am also referring to the soldiers who are assisting with this operation and any other officer, the officers in plain clothes from National Security and Bureau of National Investigation. The focus, Evans, is on getting people to stay home so that we can all fight the common enemy. That is the coronavirus. You know, security personnel are used to risk. We would have also loved to stay home because we know what is happening across the involved in the streets. However, because it is our duty and our responsibility, we have agreed and we are doing it to stay do so for all of us to do. I am sure it is not comfortable to self-quarantine or mandatory quarantine. So it's not able to be in isolation. The danger is that if we don't take care, then people get to socialize in such a manner that we get widespread infection of the corona disease. And it gets out of hand. You and I are going to be at much higher risk than we are now. So people should stay home. That's the stronghold, the focus. That people should stay home. That so that we and the special service providers in the studio who is broadcasting what's going on for people to be able to go to work and do what we have to do to contain the coronavirus. We may have isolated instances of misconduct. We won't tackle them. That is why the security guys have agreed. They have come to the decision that if any personnel is identified in any abusive video or anything, that person will be withdrawn so that the operation can go on for the safety of all Ghanaians. So let us drum home that thing about everybody trying to stay home, everybody doing this on the base for the objective of the operation for just these 2 weeks to be achieved.
I mean, Colonel Festus Obaje, Sheila has a point, does she not? That the focus of this is people should simply stay home. And if you don't stay home, of course, and you violate the directives, you're not only putting yourself at risk, but you're putting the rest of us at risk, and you're putting the lives of the officers at risk, the lives of the doctors on the front line and the nurses at risk as well. And yes, we've seen some possible human rights violations, but and that will be investigated. But shouldn't we be focusing more on telling people to stay at home? How much will you weigh the two between enforcing the lockdown, but also managing to get people, all the security officers, to do so in a way that doesn't raise these questions about abuse?
That's right. Sheila has got a very good point. She's saying all the right things. But in practice, we know that in all jurisdictions, not everybody is complying with a lockdown or restriction on movement. So the question then becomes, what do we do with such persons who do not have reasonable excuses or grounds to be walking around? That's the key question. So going back to the video, and let's assume for once that that video is a genuine video, it relates to the lockdown. The question is, how should the law enforcement officers and the military handle persons who break the regulations? Is it right? Is it acceptable for them to be assaulted? Now the question, the answer is that no, they cannot be assaulted. They shouldn't be assaulted because it's not part of the procedures for handling so-called recalcitrants. It would appear to me that the police and the military have not set up appropriate mechanisms for arresting and detaining, and if you like, prosecuting those who break the law. And I think the earlier they made such arrangements, the better. In fact, for the military, I'll suggest that if they apprehend any persons breaking the law or the rule, they must hand them over to the police. Under no circumstances, and I said this earlier on, I think on Saturday, should we find any of our security personnel physically manhandling, this up and down, holding your ears, kicking, crawling, and so on. These were things that we used to do during the revolution. But let me ask our audiences, especially those of us who belong to the security services, haven't we been provoked more than what we are seeing in the peacekeeping missions that we've been to? Did we have occasion to use that kind of force to bring those persons under control? The answer is no. There are ways and means of ensuring that kind of humanitarian operation or implementing it or executing it. It calls for tact, it calls for diplomacy, it calls for persuasion, and so on. And that was precisely what DCOP Gariba said. Humanitarian and flexibly interpreting the guidelines that the president issued, I think, on the Friday night, and further expatiated by Minister of Information and other ministers. I think the earlier, and what I'm saying is actually supported by the other video where a certain military officer is talking to passengers in a trotro. And we're all commending that officer. You see, if he has to arrest them, so let him arrest them and hand them over to the police. But let him first engage in a discourse. After all, we're all reasonable human beings. You see, this idea of cocking weapons, assuming that it relates to this lockdown, chasing somebody with a cocked weapon, the least mistake, the round goes off, may not even hit this guy. It may go and hit an innocent person. Would we have achieved the aim? So probably we need to set up detention camps and detain such persons for a while, educate them while they are in detention, and release them in a few hours to go back home. You see, though in all countries, this law is being broken. You see, and I've said that all the persons who are breaking the law, we assume that they are 100% mentally sound. That person that is in that video may not be 100% mentally sound. He may be 60% or 70% or 80%. And therefore, when you are saying that don't go out and why are you going out, and he's giving you some answers that don't even sound intelligent, you are not in a position to assess how sound he is mentally. So we need a bit of the tact that we have used in peacekeeping operations that have sold Ghana, across the world. This is a humanitarian operation. We need to assist the population to be able to, maintain the lockdown. And it calls for some of the measures that Sheila is saying, persuasion, education, and so on and so forth, and not the use of force.
I mean, Sheila, the Colonel makes a point about the protocols when an officer sees somebody sort of breaking the protocols and the directives. For example, fantastic. We need to celebrate our military and police officers when they do the right thing. It has to be said. We set the doctors and the nurses on the front line. Now the military men and the police officers are also on the front line. They are putting themselves at risk here. But it begs the question, we need to get the citizens to appreciate. If you break the rules and the directives that the president has laid out and backed by a law, what happens? What is the acceptable procedure that a police officer should follow if this happens, and so the citizens can also know so they comply with it? Can you share with us, Sheila?
Okay, so by the laws on Imposition on Restriction Act 2020, which is the Act 1012, it gives us authority to arrest and actually prosecute you. And we know that the courts will also have authority to impose fines and even in some cases custodial sentences. However, our position has been that we would largely employ persuasion. And that is why from Monday, since Monday, we have been engaging in dialogue with people who come out with no purpose, people who come out not knowing that they cannot come out, and we return them back to wherever they came from and stay home. Otherwise, we would have arrested lots and lots and lots of people. But still, there are a few that must be arrested. And people should listen and listen well. We are not going to allow people to come to town for no reason just because they are accusing us of wrong. We will investigate the wrong, but we will enforce the law so that we all stay. We continue to vary our strategies. What we learn from today or from one event help us to decide whether we have to mount a checkpoint here, or we have to patrol there, or we have to use more uniformed people or less uniformed people. And we continue to evaluate and re-strategize appropriately. And so people should just listen that for their own benefit, for the benefit of their families, for the benefit of the entire country, we must stay home.
Colonel, I want to bring in the Colonel Agrikwashi. Mr. Agrikwashi, so we know the military is assisting the police. The police have been clear when they were deploying that they are taking point on this. They are leading this particular security initiative. I wonder what and I heard Colonel Festus Abaji make the point. When a military officer finds somebody breaking the law, we've heard what the Sheila had said. What is the procedure for you? You arrest and hand over to the police, I guess?
Anywhere there's deployment of military personnel, you have policemen also there.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to arrest, definitely that will be the responsibility of the police to do. But so far, I've not seen any of the troops going in to arrest people. What they are basically doing is stopping people from going to areas that they are not supposed to go or they are not allowed to be. And so they are not arresting people. But if, for instance, you are in a trotro and the trotro cannot take more than 5 people, and you have more than 5 people, then they stop the car, either all the people come down or the car goes back to wherever it's coming from. They don't arrest anybody. And so far, I've not seen any of our men arresting people. But as much as possible, I don't think they will want to make that thing part of the core things they are supposed to be doing. Like Sheila said, then I'm sure we'll not even get holding areas to hold most of these people who are roaming around if they decide to start arresting people.
And Colonel, the military, and we really appreciate the work that you guys are doing on the ground and on the streets. I must say, driving through town, I see the military men, and they behave politely. And it's not because of me. I see people in traffic ahead of me, and they simply check. They ask where you're going. If you have a justifiable cause, they allow you to move. But we're just in day 3, by the way. And so I wonder whether the way that the last 3 days have been, is there a conversation maybe with the police? I've heard Sheila say they are constantly reviewing their protocols and measures. Is there a conversation about, as far as the military is concerned, how to approach this in a different way to get people to, I guess, embrace and accept your presence in our communities? Because we are not really used to the military. And I've seen Humvees, I nearly called it an armored car, but it's not. A Humvees, parked close to my house. These things can intimidate. I just wonder what sort of conversation is happening to get people to embrace and accept the military a bit more in these times. Because we're going to need you more going forward.
The issue is, those armored vehicles are not there just because they want to intimidate people. we still could get people who want to take advantage of the situation to even rob. And so if there is a need to use their vehicle, yes, it will be used.
Okay.
And don't forget, there are people that also need protection. If somebody decides to attack them, the armored car is a much safer vehicle for them to even go in to seek protection before they get reinforcement to relieve them. And so the vehicle there could be serving multi-purposes. But as much as possible, we should not lose sight of the fact that it's a joint exercise that we are doing. And so don't look at only the military and leave the other security services. Because there are certain areas you see police and maybe immigration officers. There are areas you see military police, you see military immigration officers. And so the media should not be picking the services as individual teams. They should try to promote that jointness so that at any particular point in time, the people will see that, look, this is a job being done by all of them, except that the deployment is made because of the numbers, so you might get more soldiers at the place, and some areas you get more police. Or you see police team here, you go some few meters ahead, you see the military. It's a joint thing. It's a team work that they are doing. And so let's promote that aspect so that everybody will know that, look, it's not that a soldier has done well. It's a team that has done well. That is, so at the end of the day, when this exercise is over, would have appreciated the team, the military and the police in particular, working together as a team. But if you continue to say, oh, the military is doing well, the military is doing well, what you are telling somebody sitting somewhere is that, oh, so it's like the police people are not doing anything. And that is some of the things that creates this misunderstanding between the services. Because all of us are standing in the sun working, going up and down, and then they always come saying that it's only you who is doing well. So what am I also doing here?
Yeah.
And so the media should help us so that that solidarity between the services are promoted. And then at the end of the day, we will get out of this thing with a new view of the services working together rather than still promoting this individual services that the media always want to do. They pick on one service depending on where their interest is. Yeah.
I mean, it kind of makes an important point. I need to say this. I'm going to take everyone at return. We're going to look at some of the individual cases. Sheila, I'm interested, for example, in the case in the northern region where this lady Guinean who was supposed to be in mandatory quarantine, we understand, had escaped. I know your men are looking for her. If you have an update for us, it would be great to hear it. But I need to make a point about main point you need to observe is stay at home. As simple as that. If you do not stay at home, you are exposing yourself and many people to the risk of contracting the deadly coronavirus. And so please stay at home. But accept that the military and the police are there for your own good. And Colonel Agrikwashi makes an important point. This is a partnership between the military and the police. They are working in sync. They are both on the front line of this, just like our health workers. And I've seen them wear masks and gloves, talking to people and asking them to do the right thing. That in itself is exposure. And so we're going to talk about protection for our men in uniform as well when we return. Stay with us. It's live here on PM Express. My guest is Ken Agrikwashi. He's a security analyst, also on the telephone line with two directors of public affairs with the police and also with the Ghana Armed Forces. Sheila, what update do you have on this Guinean who escaped, we understand, from Monday to quarantine in the northern region? Any progress in locating her, whether she's still in the jurisdiction?
Evans, I'll be able to tomorrow, but the last time I checked, we were following leads through because she left her luggage in the room. We had gone to places we expected her, so I need to get feedback by tomorrow to be able to give to you.
You might get some feedback tomorrow in terms of the progress. But I got this is a nationwide manhunt for her, I guess.
Yes, this is a nationwide.
Okay. Colonel Rukasha, you have a peculiar example because you've been in mandatory quarantine yourself. You've heard this case of this girl. What sort of security arrangements did you have in your place where you were in mandatory quarantine to ensure that stuff like this did not happen? And I wonder what that experience, how you sort of analyze what has happened with this girl's ability to escape mandatory quarantine.
Did you say Colonel Rekwashi or you said Colonel Abuaji?
Colonel Festus Abuaji, I mean.
Yeah. Well, I've been down to the lobby of the hotel where I am, I think on 2 occasions. The Monday, the 23rd, to talk to the management about the conditions of service. And then to also go for the test in the evening. Now, since then, that 23rd, I've never been downstairs to the lobby. But upon arrival and on that 23rd, there were 2 policemen, 1 female, 1 male, both armed. My son had brought me some provisions, and he had told me on 2 occasions that on one of those occasions, besides the police officer or police officers, there was also a military person. So the whole arrangement is that these police and or military are positioned at the lobby and in conjunction with the hotel management to stop any person under quarantine from escaping or from leaving for whatever reason. Let me also add that there are also national security officers. You know, you may not ordinarily be able to identify them, but they're always there, you know. At some other hotel, from one of the doctors from the Ministry of Health, I was told that somebody had tried to escape. And he designed a very ingenious plan by befriending persons who were staying at that hotel, but were not part of the quarantine. Arranged for his car and a girl to be brought in. And then under the pretense of those 2 guys probably taking some luggage out, to put his luggage in the vehicle and then to try and sneak into the vehicle and escape. Unfortunately, he was apprehended. So that could be one episode of persons trying to escape, either on their own initiative or through connivance with others or probably through bribery. But I'm told that not all of us who arrived in the country actually came under quarantine. That some people, whoever they are, through inducements, managed to go home. So it's wholly possible that anybody who has the intention to leave will do his or her reconnaissance and use mechanisms to escape. Now, what really intrigues me is that this is a woman, and I think a young woman, to be that smart, to outsmart the authorities, is something that I find embarrassing. But it's only possible that when you put people under restriction, some of them may wish to escape. My conspiracy theory is that that woman escaped with assistance from somebody. That's the experience we've had in all the revolutions, including our good friend, the late Major Kwachiga. Any one of them who attempts to break jail or to leave the guard room or the place of detention at March elsewhere have had insiders assisting them to escape. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult for this woman, you know, to have escaped from that detention. But otherwise, all of us must accept, as you've been emphasizing, that it is in our interest and in the interest of the wider society to try and comply with the conditions of the lockdown and the quarantine. You know, it's wholly in our interest and the military personnel, police officers who are doing this operation, they should remember that the person that you are manhandling, holding, may very well have the coronavirus. And you have identified that not all of them are wearing the protective gear,
yes.
whether it be the face mask or whether the hand gloves or whatever. So they themselves need to be very, very careful. So in the United States, for instance, the USS aircraft carrier, Theodore Roosevelt, has had a breakout with 70 sailors infected. And if it breaks out among one soldier or one police officer, it's likely to spread among, a whole number of persons in that team. Yeah. So we all need to be very, very careful.
Absolutely, Colonel Agriquashi. Sheila, is there a picture of this young girl that we can help you circulate quite widely so people can help you find her?
My information is that they took sufficient details of her before they detained her, let me use the word. And so officers in charge are doing whatever is possible, including publication, if what we are doing is not sufficient enough.
I want to bring in Colonel Agriquashi. Colonel Agriquashi, are your men adequately protected in doing this job? Normally, for military men, Ghana Armed Forces, you have the gun, you have your armored vehicle, etc., the bulletproof vest, but you're fighting an invisible enemy. And yes, you have to enforce the quarantine, but you have to be protected with a glove, with a mask, etc. I wonder whether your men are adequately protected with these as well.
Yeah, all the personnel at the duty post have been issued with the mask and then a glove. But unfortunately, for some reasons, I've been in the mask before. It's very uncomfortable.
Yes,
so
it is.
You can't keep it on for a very long time. And so you see people have the mask, all right, but they push the thing down, and then they are talking to people. Yes. But when it comes to the gloves and the mask, anybody who is at a duty post have been issued with gloves and then a mask.
And Colonel, there's some good news that you appended your signature to today about you are deploying a mobile hospital. Tell us more about this.
This is a level 2 UN hospital that the U.S. government donated to the Ghana Armed Forces. Originally, it's supposed to be used for UN operation, but with this COVID coming into the country, it's being prepared as a treatment center. And so when the military hospital should get people who are suspected to be victims, there's a holding area within the hospital. They've put some tents also there. Once you are suspected, you'll be held there, and then your samples will be taken. So they send it to the Ruchi. When the test results come and you are negative, then you are allowed to go. But if you are positive, then you'll be sent to this level 2 hospital, which is going to be the treatment center. So you'll be sent there for treatment.
How many beds do you have in this?
I think it's about 40 bed. 40 bed hospital.
Okay, great. Is this sort of a ship, or it will move on wheels?
No. These are tents that can be dismantled and then fixed somewhere else.
Okay, grateful. Sheila, thank you for joining us, and please keep safe. I know you're doing a great deal. Colonel Festus Albaje, thank you for connecting, and I'm pretty sure your results will come in negative, and so you could walk home. We could see you and embrace you in our studios again, possibly on Newsfile. Colonel Agriquashi, thank you for joining me, and great job. to all these men and women on the front line helping us fight this. Men in uniform, the military and the police doing a great job. When you see them, salute them, clap for them. Don't shake hands, obviously keep your distance, but appreciate what they do. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.